Hey, I had a problem with my RTV. Mine's an X1120, but this should be identical to or for all of the X series, which I call Gen 2s. My problem was that the fuel outlet inside the tank was plugged. You may not care why, but it looked like some metal shavings had jammed up and stopped the flow. I went back through my records and noted that 3 years ago the dealer had replaced the fuel tank due to the recall. So I don't know where the shavings came from, unless they were in the tank and just sort of floating around on the bottom, and then all of a sudden collected enough to stop the flow. But maybe yours plugged because of something else, or something that fell into the fill opening while you were filling, or there's some other reason that you need to remove the tank. So here's a comparison of before and after with all the fuel drained from the tank. I used a flashlight to take these pictures, so you can see what that outlet is supposed to look like. I created several video clips that I cut and stitched together to try to make these instructions concise and as brief as possible so you can get your job done quickly. Hope they make sense for you. Okay, taking off the fuel tank. First thing you want to do is drain the tank and get as much out as you can, because whatever's left over will probably end up spilling on you. Second thing is you're going to take this shroud off here. Okay, and I've got them finger tied in here right now, but there's only 2 bolts up here. Well, there's a bolt and a nut. Okay, and then down below here, underneath here, there's 2, and everything is 12 millimeters, but there's 2 of them there, and once that's out of the way, then the entire piece comes off like this. Now, you'll see that the bottom edge of that is slotted, so on both of them, so you don't actually have to remove the nut. You just have to get it loosened up, and you can see here the 2 nuts or bolts that are in place. So once that's done, then you're ready to proceed. The next thing you want to do is this fender is going to have to be flexible enough to give yourself space to take this tank up and out of the way. So next thing you want to do is completely remove these 2 bolts. There is a slot in the fender, however, I'd recommend it's just as easy just to remove them all the way. Once you do that, then you're going to have some space. And once you have the space, there's 2 more bolts down there in between. You can't see it right now because this fender's in the way. 1 bolt is going to be to loosen the tank strap, and 1 bolt is going to be to loosen the other end of this bracket, this brace. So this brace is going to have to be removed. The strap is going to have to be removed. Once you take the nut off of the strap down here, then you'll be able to take that strap up and over and actually completely remove the whole thing. That down here at the bottom edge of the strap is just a hook. So once it's released from this side, you'll be able to pull it up, push it down, unhook it from there, and remove this strap. In summary, this bracket has to be removed. There's a nut here, 12 millimeter nut at the top, a bolt at the top, and this bracket has to be completely removed. Your 2 hoses have to be disconnected. Your signal sending unit has to be disconnected right here just electrically. And then down below, the fuel. Okay, here we are. Here's our fuel filter, and what I did is there is a clamp right here. It's hard to see, but there's a clamp right there. Take that clamp off and pop that hose off, and then that will allow you to leave the filter in place and to remove the tank. Okay, to get this out, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to remove the electrical connections here on the sending unit. You're going to have to remove the 2 hoses on this. You're going to have to remove this bracket. It's connected up here underneath with a 12 millimeter. You're going to have to remove this horizontal, I've got it loose right now, this horizontal brace is going to have to go. Everything between the fender, all the connections between the fender and this bottom plate have to be removed. Then, let's see if I can do this one-handed. Away. Then, once you get that stuff out of the way, and I've just got this in here finger tight. Okay, and then when this bracket comes out, it's got its own nut on there. It comes out, and then as long as this fender can flex and move, you see it flexing and moving? Once that happens, then you can take this thing, and then you have enough space to swing it up and out, and there you go with removal. And like I said before, the bottom connection hose has to be disconnected from the filter, and that's the way you take it out. Okay, this is the tank. After I kind of scrubbed it up a little bit, cleaned up, letting it to set out in the sun, air dry a little bit, get the moisture out. So here's where the filter is. This is the connection where the drain is, and this here, right here, is where the fuel filter and water separator belong. So that's what the tank looks like. That's all there is to it. I'm just going to let it sit out here, cap off, and let it dry out a little bit. Finish drying out. Okay. Because I cleaned my tank with a garden hose, it was all wet. The inside needs to be dried, so to make that go faster, I'll give you a tip. I would insert my shop vacuum hose into the tank to get the air moving for drying. Just set the hose, turn on the vacuum, and leave it running until it's dry. A tip on putting it back together that I've discovered myself is that this metal strap here cannot be in place before this bracket is actually in place and secured. And in order to secure it, it has to go between the tank and the metal. It cannot go through the slot here. It has to go down through here. And not only that, but before it goes in, that's why your strap, tank strap, cannot be in place first. Before you do that, you have to get one of these bolts in through the bottom of that and out through. Anyway, it has to be in place, and you have to put this carriage bolt in so that you can tighten that down before you strap the tank back down.